then that Indian path, and then you, as you said, came to Germany, and then you are a student yourself, and but in Germany also you moved a bit, let's say, till now, established in Bremen. So could you just go through that part, how it was, and what led to that?
Definitely. Actually, the first country in Europe where I studied wasn't Germany, but it was Netherlands, not very far away from Bremen over here. In Rotterdam, I did training on urban development and urban management, and that's what introduced me to Europe. First of all, it especially introduced me to European winters because the program was in the winter, and I was quite surprised the very first time while the plane started landing, and I was looking out, and it was all dark, and it was 7:30 in the morning, and I was thinking, okay, it must be maybe because the windows are tinted that it is so dark. And then the plane landed, and it was still dark at almost 8 o'clock. When I came out of the airport, I was completely shocked to see that the leaves, the plants and the trees didn't have any leaves at all. So that was kind of the first thing, but it was basically a wonderful experience because I met a lot of nice people over there, and it introduced me also to the concept of education in the European continent. And in Germany, I came 1.5 years later when I started, because I was that time working in social development, and I joined a program called Development Policy with non-government organizations, which was a very applied kind of study program, a master diploma program. Those days it was a master's level diploma program at the University of Bremen, where we learned the various tools which we could use while working together with people, where we worked very, very extensively to action research. That is research which is not just academic in purpose, but also is supposed to bring in social change. And that was the time that was in Bremen. So I then finished my studies over there, and I really, really wanted to do my PhD at some point of time. And I tried to get a PhD here in Germany itself. There was a lot of applications. I learned a lot through this application process itself, because many times when I sent in the application, I got a lot of feedback from the people as to why it would be interesting and why it was not interesting. And that kind of honed it up. And thankfully, in Bremen itself, at the Bremen International Graduate School of Social Sciences, over there, I was then accepted as a PhD fellow. And it's an institution which is a interdisciplinary one. It's actually an institution which combines resources from two different universities, the University of Bremen and the Jacobs University. That's also situated in Bremen, which is an international university. Over there, then I had the opportunity of working together with a lot of people there also. And I studied something which I was very interested in, kind of, because I myself had started in. But coming out of many things, I slowly started realizing many things which I find challenging, and not because of reasons or academic reasons. This was mostly because I was used to a completely different system than the system over here. And I also wanted to bring together elements from the natural sciences, from technology, and from social sciences together in my PhD. So I chose the subject of outsourcing, call center outsourcing those days. And I tried to find out what happened to the people, those who are working in call centers, especially directed towards foreign clients, for example, Americans, Australians, and British clients. These are people who generally work in night, sleep during the daytime, almost never have contacts or have limited contact with other Indians. They learn about the culture of the other country, the client's country, try to immerse themselves into it. So I try to find out what exactly happens to the cultural values of these people. Do they kind of remain Indians, or do they shift towards the cultures of the client countries? Does an acculturation take place? And well, this was the time which I spent in Bremen. Before I finished my PhD, meaning it was a long process. So German PhDs basically are they are somewhat different than the Anglo-Saxon PhDs or researchers. Anglo-Saxon PhD or Anglo-Saxon research is generally about moving from one area to another and covering a lot of areas, covering a lot of topics, which the scope is very wide. And the German research, especially in social sciences, generally focuses very much on one aspect and goes deep into it. And that is what ISO did. And during this time, I had the fortune. I also applied for positions at universities, and I was accepted at the University of Bayreuth in Germany, in Bavaria, in southern Germany, as a research associate. It was an interesting thing because once again I had been so used to staying in northern Germany, and that was the point which I found there. Things were completely different, meaning there was still the Germanness, there was still the love for being punctual, the love for doing things correctly, rightly, and all that was all there. And yet, the way the people communicated was quite different. The way they what they expected of you, how they displayed it, what they expected of you, it was completely different. The hierarchy was different. So I spent quite about 3 years in Bayreuth, and after that I continued there as an adjunct faculty, basically related to cross-cultural matters, and my specialization there was cross-cultural and human resource management. So
I think you have given a very clear path that, how you are from the Netherlands, for example, and it's also not different for me. When I also landed here, it was 31st of January in 2000, and I still remember it's full of snow completely. And I come from Tanjavur, which is Tamil Nadu, South India. So obviously, snow is something, of course, we see in the fridge, some ice, cubes. That's all we have seen. And so we have always seen the sun and rain. So snow is something out of grasp, and it is in Himalayas. So that's what we all know from that point of time. So it was like really having 40 degrees, and then suddenly you are coming down, and then you are having minus 15. So when I come out of the airport and I saw, okay, so it took some time for me to get the shock over. As you really said, when you wake up, it's dark. When you go to bed, it's dark. When you leave the lab, it's dark. It's again that psychologically, it was it was quite let's say not that clinical depression, but in terms it's quite depressing, because when you are coming from a tropical country where the food, people flowing all the time, whether it's a night or day, and you have been always with people, and suddenly you are into a room and nobody on the streets. So but yes, it's like all of us, you, me, or Rajneesh or others, it's almost 2 decades we are here somehow. So it's now we have moved along. So it's very nice. So